Okay guys, so this is one of those spur of the moment videos, and kind of when God just puts everything together in my head and I'm like, okay, here it is. Everything's connecting and everything's like, all my little brain cells are like bing, 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 bing. Let me put it together, right? And I'm going to start off with this devotional that I opened up today, and I landed on June 30th. Now, I've said this before in another video. This doesn't like something that I'm going to tell everybody, hey, just go open a book and randomly land on something and that's it. This is just how it works for me, and I can't explain it. I can call it a spiritual gift. It's just the way that God works in me. And I landed on June 30th. Today is March 16th. And it says, focus, breathe in a deep breath and focus your thoughts on this. All is well. I'm on my throne and there's nothing to be flustered about. And the verse that goes with it, because I'm not going to read the whole thing, it just says, don't lose your bold, courageous faith, for you are destined for a great reward. And that's Hebrews 10:35. This says the TPT version. I don't know what that one is. But to me, our reward is Jesus. He's the gift. He's the prize. He's the only way to heaven. So that's the prize. Now here we go. I'm going to start off by saying the reason why it takes me a long time to process things going on in my brain to get the words to come out of my mouth is I do have ADD or ADHD or whatever, and I choose not to be medicated for it because I didn't get diagnosed with it until I was in my 30s, like 32. I'm 41. What's the point, right? And I think when I was 32, they did try to prescribe me medication, but I didn't like it. I tried it. It didn't work at first, and they upped the dose, and I tried it again, and I did not like the way it feels. And I prayed about it, and I was like, God, I really feel like I've lived my whole life masking this and trying to function in the world as best as I can, and I've already figured out how to manage it for the most part. Okay, for the most part, I have thoughts that race through my brain, and I have problems processing the words to come out of my mouth. I have, if you're ADHD, you start a project that you're like, man, I can do this, and then 2 days later, you've already moved on to the next thing. Like, I was gonna hand sew a jumper for my daughter. Why? I don't know, because I thought I could do it, and I bought all the supplies to do it. And then by the time I was like, oh, I have to do this, and I played out the whole scenario of how that was gonna go in my head, and then I moved on to something else. So I have a ton of projects that I started and I probably won't ever finish. So I donated a lot of stuff and I got rid of a lot of things. But if you aren't familiar with that, then you probably don't know the struggle it is sometimes to just be quote unquote normal like everybody else. So I'm just gonna put that out there and let it go, and it is what it is. That's just who I am. Now, I don't know what I'm going to title this. Maybe like how or why I chose to use the phrase 3 days of darkness, or why I use pop culture, or how pop songs work in this, because I've seen several comments about, oh, 3 days of darkness, not in the Bible, and God doesn't use pop culture or pop music or any kind of music or whatever. But I'm just going to jump right into it, okay? And First, I'm going to say, if you didn't watch my video where I said, don't be discouraged, I addressed some of this there, but I'm just going to say it again here. And I think this is the last time that I'm going to feel a little apologetic for using things that God brings to my mind to share a message, or use things that come to my mind that will better describe something than I could do on my own. Because in the Bible, when people see visions, they're like, oh, it was like that of a this, or like that of something, when they describe something. But it's 2024, and if I see something and I'm like, oh, that's what it looked like, oh, I could tell somebody it looked like something from this TV show, that's what I'm going to do, because I'm not going to sit here and try to detail out something when it was presented to me exactly the way it looks in a show. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to get a drink of water and then I'll get started. And I'm really thirsty all the time. If you're wondering why I'm always taking a drink of water, is I'm breaking a caffeine addiction. And so I am thirsty all the time because I didn't realize how dehydrated I was. I'm going to start off by listing a bunch of random things, right, that you would think don't make any sense. But they do to me because I have that kind of brain. If I didn't have this weird ADHD brain that can bounce 100 things at a time, I wouldn't have been able to put this together. And so I'm going to say these random things, and then I'm going to show you how I put it together. And here they are. I saw a Cheshire cat from Alice in Wonderland on the back of somebody's car. My daughter kept running around the house and she kept saying, "Hey mom, look at me." And she would like, and then she'd run in a circle somewhere else, and then she'd go, and then she'd find some other spot and like poke her head out and be like. So that's one thing. It doesn't mean anything to you, but it means something to me, because it reminded me of that sticker or that meme where Jesus pokes his head around. He said, "I saw that." You know, I know you guys know what I'm talking about. And then I heard in my sleep a song from BTS. The singer is V, and it's called Scenery, and it says, "I still wonder, wonder," and then another lyric says, "I want to make you mine." I saw a pack of playing cards when I was cleaning out my house from like high school that an old boyfriend gave to me that said Snatch on it, but it was from that Brad Pitt movie. And then I heard "Thrust into Darkness." I heard in this voice, it said, "You're not a prophet," but I'll do the voice because this is how I heard it. "You're not a prophet." Okay, that's how I heard it. And then I heard "Don't do that," and I heard "blaspheming." I heard, like, the number 432 I was being drawn to. I heard "You Are Free." I heard "Salt." I heard the song "Fake Love" by BTS. I had heard "They Said I Used Beelzebub." And then the word "tenderhearted," "love is key," "mine," "shine," "connect the dots," and "puzzle piece." And then a song that I'm going to tell you, don't go look up the lyrics because they're inappropriate probably, or most likely. But when I hear that song in my head, there's only one verse that I hear, and it is a song called Uchiwali. Again, don't go look up the lyrics because you're not going to like it. But the lyric is "Do your thing." So I'm going to do my weird thing that I do that I couldn't do if I didn't have the brain that God gave me and the faith that I have, because faith is a gift from the Holy Spirit as well, regardless of whatever gift I think I have or you guys might think that I have. Faith is also a gift that is given by the Spirit, and so I have that faith. So here we go. I'll put that all together for you. And before I forget, I wrote at the very top, because I almost forgot myself, a song by Christina Perri called "1,000 Years." Here we go. So the Cheshire cat, the Alice in Wonderland thing, the Wonderland daycare, I don't know if I mentioned it, but I wrote it on this page. And my daughter pointing her fingers at me, and that Jesus meme sticker. That all goes to how I found my faith. And you're like, how? Because back in 2020, when we were all locked down, I was deep down in conspiracy theories, just like a ton of other people. And I would jump down one rabbit hole, which is what you think of when you think of Alice in Wonderland. You're just going to jump down all these holes of theories, I mean tunnels. And I would get deep down in there. And at some point, I was like, this doesn't feel like this. Whatever the topic was, this feels like something more. This is something bigger. And I kept telling people, I'm like, you know what, I don't know about, whoever my conspiracy people are talking to on Facebook when I had Facebook. I was like, something just doesn't sit right with my soul or with my spirit. Like, things, I don't know what this is. I don't know what is happening, but I think it's more than what meets the eye. And as many times as I've shared this story, how God brought me to him through conspiracy theories, in person and maybe in a couple of these videos, I have described it as this. I would go down a tunnel and then Jesus would be like, hey, what's up? And then I would be like, no, let me go down this one. And then I was like surprised because Jesus was like, hey, what's going on? You want to talk about this crazy stuff? Let's do this. And it didn't matter what theory I was jumping down, no matter how hard I tried to run from that because I wasn't in my faith. At one point I said, okay, Jesus, I wonder what this is about, and I wonder what this is about. And like those lyrics from that scenery song in V, it says, I wonder, and I want to make you mine. Because Jesus was like, you're going down all these things. I can show you unsearchable things like Jeremiah 33:3. If you want to know, ask me, come to me. And finally I submitted. I was like, okay, Jesus, let's see what this is about. Show me what I've been running from my whole life. Because I had gone to church when I was a kid. I did that, and I went and I did all the other things that were opposite of that because I lived worldly. And I did what many of you, I feel like I have a hair touching my nose. What many of you are like, that's not this, or these people are crazy, or these theories, da 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 da. I did that to people too, and I don't do that anymore because now I'm in that spot where I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm the one who's getting the fingers pointed at. But whatever, I don't care. So that is how I got into my faith. And in that journey of tunneling in conspiracy theories and finding Jesus at the end of every time, and me submitting my life to Christ and being like, this is where I want to be. This is that spot in my heart that I was trying to fill with nonsense all my life, and it was supposed to be you. So now I feel that hole in my heart is not there anymore. Whatever I tried to put in that hole didn't fit and didn't satisfy me. It didn't make me feel any better than how I felt about myself. But I don't feel like I'm missing the love that Jesus gives anymore because I submitted. I was like, okay, I give in, let's do this. And again, in that tunneling of conspiracy theories was where the first time I had heard the phrase 3 days of darkness. So that title is familiar to me. Whether or not it is an actual 3 days, I don't know. Is it in the Bible? Does it say 3 days of darkness? No, it doesn't. And I asked God, and I said, why did you make me feel okay? Or why did I feel okay? Or when I talked to you about making this video and ran from making those videos, I ran from them. I got those messages back at the end of January, and it's already mid-March, and it took forever for me to muster up the courage to do it. And I was like, but I questioned that phrase myself. And so whether I say 3 days of darkness, or I say days of darkness, or I just say the darkness, the Bible mentions darkness. So whatever phrase you feel comfortable using about darkness, use it, but rely on what's in the Bible because it does talk about darkness. So yeah, the phrase 3 days of darkness is not in the Bible, but darkness is. And when I heard the word thrust into darkness, I was like, okay, God. And he was like, search it up. So I did, right on my phone. Okay, I didn't go to my Bible or anything. I went right on my phone because I was laying in bed, and I was like, thrust into darkness. And it brought me to Isaiah 8:22, which I read before, and I was like, I already know this verse. So the New International says, then they will look toward the earth and see only distress and darkness and fearful gloom, and they will be thrust into utter darkness. And so I was like, yeah, I got it. I know that verse. Was that going to be a difference if I read that verse in there? You know, I was asking, and he said, keep reading. And I was like, that's the end of the verse. And it was like, he was like, keep reading. And so when you go on to Bible Hub, it gives you a couple of breakdowns of different versions. I got down maybe third or fourth version, and it's the DRB version, which, I don't know, Dowie, D-O-U-A-Y, Reams Bible version. And I'm going to read you how it translates, which this one, I was like, my brain was like, yes, like it made me feel more confident. It says, and they shall look to the earth, and behold, trouble and darkness, weakness and distress, and a mist following them, and they cannot fly away from their distress. Did I not, in my last video, the part 2, tell you that when I had my vision of a Bible in front of me, and this thing kept going in front of it and over it and in front of it and over it, and I said mist? That's what I said in my dream and my vision. And from that little phrase, the mist, I went on to use a show of pop culture to describe the mist. And you can like it or you cannot like it, but that is just how God brought it to me to share it. And I can't give you a way to believe me. I can't give you a reason to be like, yes, pop culture is the answer, because I don't know, but I know that that was the best way that I could use it to describe it to you. And the fact that I got a version that actually describes it as a mist, I was like, okay, I don't feel so bad now, because there's a Bible version that I don't own, but it is a Bible translation. And that brought me to remembering some previous videos that I did called The Lying Prophets. It's part 1 and part 2. And then I have some magic videos, magic part 1, 2, and 3. And in part 2, I talk about the Python spirit. And I had to, in that video, go on to Bible Gateway and type in a specific verse in Luke where, no, it wasn't in Luke, but it was Luke who did it. Just watch the video, but I'll tell you what it was about. It was about when Paul cast out a Python spirit out of a girl. But in some version, it just says a spirit. But I had to look up every translation of that, and you could see in so many translations that they actually do call it a Python spirit. And so that just reminded me, had I dug deeper and pulled up the different translations, I could have had the one that said the mist in it. But this is all working in God's plan for me to make this video today. And then the Lying Prophets part 1, this is where the phrase is I heard that says, they said I used Beelzebub. And when somebody said, you're not a prophet, and then don't do that, blaspheming. Because in that video, I talk about how careful you should be about who you point fingers at, about being false or not, because Matthew 12:23 through 31 talks about how some Pharisees accused Jesus of casting out demons by the power of Beelzebub. And so that's the phrase where I heard, they said I use Beelzebub. And so I'm just going to read Matthew 12:23, but I encourage you to go read or go listen to the Python, or part 1 and part 2 of Lying Prophets, which one is called the Python Spirit. So Matthew 12:31 says, and so I tell you, every kind of sin and slander can be forgiven, but blasphemy against the Spirit will not be forgiven. So if you want to hear more about that, go watch that video, because I go over it. When I heard the word salt and fake love, which is a song by BTS, that song, in the first couple lyrics, it's about a relationship, right? So someone is continuously changing who they are to meet someone else's needs. And one line says, now I don't know me. And if I keep changing who I am to try to portray myself as what I think you guys want me to look like, or how I should sound, or what I should say, or stop using pop culture, or whatever, but that's not me, that's not my salt. And the verse is Matthew 5:13. You are the salt of the earth. And I'm just going to read the first part. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can you make it salty again? And I've described this in my Bible study class, and to my own daughter, my older daughter in her 20s, and other people, that you are salt. Your personality is your salt. A way that you could plant a seed for somebody is because your personality might be exactly the way someone else needs to hear it, so that that seed can grow. And if you just keep changing into something that you're not because you are trying to fit in, which is what I was almost worried about doing, I'll lose myself. I will lose what God, how God made me to be able to put this stuff together, how I can use songs and pop culture to describe something. That is my salt, and you can like it or you cannot like it, and that's okay. Find someone who can help plant the seed for you in a way that you understand. But there's going to be at least one person out there who has ADHD, or who can put all these puzzle pieces together, or who knows these songs and has listened to music in their life. Whether you are in your faith or not in your faith, you can't tell me you've never listened to a song and it hit your heart a certain way. For me, I put Jesus in every song that I hear that makes me feel like, okay, I feel confident, I feel good. Of course, there's going to be some stuff that doesn't work for you, but like whatever works for you, wherever you can find Christ. My battery is low. That's okay. As long as you're keeping Christ the number one in your life. And now I'm going to get to the Snatch playing cards and the Christina Perri 1,000 Years song. So the 1,000 Years song, let me get that paper. The lyrics are, I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years because God knew us before we were even formed in the womb. And I have loved you for 1,000 more. How to be brave? How can I love when I'm afraid to fall? But watching you, all of my doubts suddenly goes away somehow. And the verse I have for that is John 10:27 through 28, and it says, my sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. I give them eternal life and no one can snatch them out of my hands. God will love us for 1,000 years, or he has loved us for 1,000 years, and he's going to love us for 1,000 more because he is our eternal life. And I'm sorry that I put it together that way and you may not. I'm almost done. So I have the number 432, tenderhearted, and you are free. Now, whenever I see the number 432, I think of that Ephesians 4:32, which I'm going to pull open my Bible, because this was the Bible that was sitting on my desk or on my kitchen table, because I have like 7 different versions of my Bible, because if I don't understand something, I'll look at a different version so it can help me understand. Maybe it's a word I don't understand. I do that. If it's a word I don't get, I'll look it up online. Like, what really does this word mean? I mean, I try to figure it out so that I know how to make sense of it. Now, I opened up this Bible, and I landed on Ephesians 1, by the way, but I went ahead and turned to this version of Ephesians 4:32, and it says, instead be kind to each other, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, just as God has forgiven you, because you belong to Christ. And then that part where it says you are free, when I heard you are free, I just randomly flipped the page backwards, because I'm like, how many? I'll tell you where I landed. Right here, Ephesians 1. So from here, I turned to Ephesians 32. But when I looked across the page, I saw over here, and I'll start from the beginning of the verse. It's Galatians chapter 5, verse 13. It says, for dear brothers, you have been given freedom, not freedom to wrong, but freedom to love and serve each other. Is that coincidence that I heard tenderhearted and you are free, and I landed on Ephesians 1? I don't think so. You may think so. But had I not heard those words prior to opening up this Bible, that I felt led to open this particular Bible, that made sense to me. That's all I can say. That's just how it works for me. Then I have the phrase, love is key. And so I went to my sister's office, their grand opening. I mentioned that in the part 2 of the darkness. And one thing that I saw And I was going to share this with someone, but I waited for this video. There's a subscriber that their name is Love is Key, and it has some numbers on it. And I almost told her that, okay, I saw this thing at my sister's work, but I saved it for this video, and I'm glad I did. At my sister's work, I walked into one of the offices just to see how they decorated this brand new office, and I kept looking up, and on the corner of some picture, I saw the phrase Love is Key. And I'm going to tell you what Love is Key, the subscriber, thank you so much. I almost choked on the water. For all the nice things that you said to me and in my defense. And I'm going to use something that you said. It was, God uses what is familiar to a person. God can use bad for good. He can use anything for his good, which is true. And I know this. I let these comments like hit my feelings, but I know this because I have a video that I posted a long time ago, called Bible and BTS, and Bible and BTS and K-pop and Christ. And if you want to watch that one, you can. I'll put all these videos that I'm mentioning, I will put in the description after the video loads. And so then I heard Mine, Shine, and Microcosmos by BTS. And so before I read some lyrics for Microcosmos, I'm going to read you the verse that I have to go with it, which is Matthew 5:4 from the NLT version. It says, "You are the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden." And the lyrics are, some lights are ambitious, some lights are wandering. Each person's light is a precious one. In the dark night, don't feel lonely. Like all the stars we shine, don't disappear because our existence is a big one. Let us shine. I got you in the nights that are like pitch darkness. We see each other's light. Shine, dream, smile. We shine as we are. We'll shine in our way. Now, those aren't the lyrics, like the full lyrics. I just tried to keep it short. So I'm going to say that this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. And don't let the devil or anyone else blow your light out. And so I'll probably won't be back on here to record part 3 of the 3 Days of Darkness, which is a phrase that I'm going to use because it is a phrase I'm familiar with. I probably won't post that until Monday, because today I'm going to spend the rest of my Saturday doing what I always do on Saturdays. And if you want to know what that is, I will put a link in the description for a video I called Faith Without Works is Dead. So always find the light and let your light shine. Bye.